I now call the March 1st, 2016 regular council meeting to order. Would council members please denote your presence by depressing your yes switch?
All council members are present.
Thank you. Council meetings are also televised and can be viewed on cable channel 192. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the February 16th, 2016 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on February 22nd, 2016.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Miller. Please, any corrections? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the March 1st, 2016 bills and claims as audited by City Manager McDonald.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Abstentions? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now address the main business portion of the meeting. Council carries out business by three types of action: by ordinance, resolution, and minute action. Ordinances require 3 readings and votes, whereas the other items are passed by 1. Ordinance create or modify law, whereas resolutions and minute action items provide for council to carry out its business. These various actions have different publication and public hearing requirements. Items may be considered by consent or not consent. Consent items are typically routine and will not be discussed by council. Items not listed as consent will be discussed by council, and there is a process for the public as well as members of council to remove a title from consent. Council will now consider establishing the schedule of future public hearings which are held for the purpose of obtaining public input. Public hearings are held for items such as annexations, liquor licenses, transactions, passing of the budget, zone changes. Public hearings also require public notice via publication in the newspaper. Please read the consent agenda title.
Establish March 15th, 2016 as the public hearing date for consideration of the amendment to the 2015-2016 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and an update to the Citizen Participation Plan.
The chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing date just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Cathy, seconded by Councilman Hiley. Please cast your vote. And please record your vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the annexation and plat to create La Hacienda Addition. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
Pardon me, I do, Your Honor. I have 2 exhibits.
Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated February 24th, 2016. And exhibit number 2, that being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 16th, 2016.
City Manager report.
Your Honor, an application has been received to annex and plat .471 acres of property located at the intersection of East First Street and South Jefferson to create the La Hacienda addition. This property is an island of property that is actually in the county and not part of the city. And doing this annexation will bring it under city jurisdiction. Additionally, if approved, the property will be zoned C2, general business. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request on January 21st, 2016, and is forwarding the application to the city with a due pass recommendation.
Do we have any graphics to go along with that? Thank you. At this time, the chair would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the issues involving La Hacienda addition to please approach the lectern. Welcome, sir. Please identify yourself and give me an address.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Octavio Cuevas, 2223 Omaha Trail. We bought this, and if you guys would take this in consideration, we're planning to build a restaurant later on. So,
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Jueves?
Good plan.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jueves.
thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the issues involving La Hacienda addition? Please approach. Okay. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the issues involving La Hacienda addition to please approach the lectern. Anyone to speak in opposition? Going once, twice. Okay. There being no others to speak for or against the issues involving La Hacienda addition, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance approving the annexation, plat, and zoning creating La Hacienda addition to the city of Casper and also approving La Hacienda addition subdivision agreement.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
So moved. Second.
I'll say Councilman Powell. Who wants to be the second?
Bob can do it.
Okay. And seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Discussion. Go ahead.
Another Mexican restaurant in our community would be great. We can always use another one. So,
Vice Mayor.
I am glad to hear that they have finally found a new place. This is the couple that used to have the restaurant out at the Shiloh Inn, and when that kind of took over and everything, they were moved out. So I'm glad to see that you have finally found a new resting place, so to speak. So, very good.
Any more questions or comments? Mr. Hopkins.
Welcome to Ward 1.
Okay, just a little note in Hispanic cooking traditions. There is what is known as norteña, and in all of my travels, the only place I've ever found enchiladas montadas is in New Mexico and Arizona. So, just a menu suggestion.
I think it might be worthwhile to point out to folks, people might be surprised, well, why is this county land being annexed right in the middle of Casper? And there are little pockets of county land all over Casper that a lot of people aren't aware of. And so this comes up from time to time where someone purchases a piece of property that's in the county, but it needs to be annexed and platted in the city of Casper, and that's the case here. But this is not the only parcel of land like that within our city limits.
Duly noted. Any more? Okay, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the vacation and replat to create Heritage Hills Edition Number 4. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do, Your Honor. I have 2 exhibits for this item. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated February 22nd, 2016. And exhibit number 2, that exhibit being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 16th, 2016.
Thank you. City Manager report.
Your Honor, Integrity Builders Group LLC applied to replat 8.6 acres, described as lots 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, and a portion of Hope Street and Track A of Heritage Hills Number 3. The location of this property is on Hope Street, just about a half a block east of South Beverly, as outlined in the blue on the map. This replat realigns the street right-of-ways around Sage Creek in that area. The proposed plat creates 28 residential lots and is zoned R2, 1-unit residential. The proposed lots range in size from 7,676 square feet up to 17,875 feet, with the minimum lot for R2 being 4,000 square feet. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request on January 21st, 2016, and is forwarding the application to the city with a due pass recommendation with 10 conditions for the development.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the issues involving Heritage Hills Edition Number 4 to please approach the lectern. Those wishing to speak in favor.
Mayor, council members, thank you. Chris Gaddis, 1011 Goodstein, representing Integrity Building Group. We have decided to replat something that was already put before the council, which was Heritage Hills Number 3, to try to avoid the drainage and the costs that we've incurred on this Sage Creek. We've tried different avenues of trying to get affordable housing into Casper. We just started our marketing in January. Have some models under 220, already have 6 pre-sales within 2 weeks on the lots that we do have, and are planning to move forward and meet the market that Casper needs in the city limits. So,
Any questions for Mr. Gaddis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gaddis, is the drainage that slight curvy area between the 2 rows of houses? Is that?
I might not have the map that. The drainage area is right behind 25th Street, where that cul-de-sac is. And then it'll cut across Beverly. We're keeping the natural drainage the way that it is. We're not going to mess with it. The culverts that we've already put in Heritage Hills 2 are going to be the only culverts except for the one that crosses Beverly. And it will cross directly where the natural drainage is, because we're just trying to avoid that. It's a lot of cost, it's a lot of time, a lot of holdup from FEMA. And the drainage that they made us build is substantially bigger than what was there in the natural drainage. So it's really not cost effective to do it. So that's why we're going this direction.
More questions for Mr. Gaddis?
Follow, and
Yeah.
there's no floodplain issues with this development then?
Well, it's in the floodplain, but the way that FEMA, when they put the design together that we had to build in Heritage Hills number 2, is the ones that border any part of the drainage, we have to do elevation certificates and a LOMA. So we have to build the house per the lot specifications, which we have some on Heritage too. There's about 7 or 8 lots that if they tell us we have to be 6 inches below the grade of the sidewalk for our base floor, then it's on a crawl space or a slab on grade. So, and then we have to actually do those certificates. We just got through our first one and it was quite the experience, but going through the process. But the houses will not need flood insurance. Yeah, they're on the specific lots that we have to build the elevation certificates.
And that's giving that 1 foot freeboard that we were talking about as a council for a while? Or is that?
You're asking questions at this.
Okay.
I'm not the smart guy on that.
Okay,
I'd
well,
have to get an engineer up here.
you know,
I don't think so, Mr. Messer.
Okay.
I don't think that.
But there's only about 6, 7 lots on Heritage 2. And then the way this works out, because we kept the natural drainage, there'll be a few that border the actual drainage areas. But most of the lots are not even in the Sage Creek area in the drainage.
okay.
Maybe 10 to 15%. I don't have the exact count. And those have to have the LOMA certificates attached to them when we close on the house.
And what does that acronym stand for, do you know? LOMA?
No.
Okay. I'll look it up.
The gentleman was just.
Yeah.
Letter of map revision.
Letter of map revision.
After 12 years, I should be able to know it. And I know I need to build houses, so.
Okay,
Sounds federal.
yeah, it does.
Extremely.
Is this any part, I remember seeing you before and discussing this general area. Is this a section of an addition that you entertained the idea of?
Well, we're not back on that. That'll be the next number 3, I think, or the next thing we're going to visit.
Okay.
So,
And
and we're annexing that portion in. But this is a piece of property that's already been annexed into the city of Casper.
so it's already in the city.
Correct. Yeah, we're
And-
just getting reconfiguring the lots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff that we discussed about contiguation and.
Well, we're going to be visiting on that in the next, but we're going to annex that part in too.
But the part
That's
that,
the next public hearing.
right, and the part that we need to make note of is the due pass from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Gaddis? Thank you. This time I would ask those individuals who wish to speak any more to speak in favor of Heritage Hills number 4? Any more to speak in favor? Okay, we're switching now to anyone who wants to speak in opposition to Heritage Hills number 4. Please approach the lectern. Anyone to speak in opposition? Okay. There being no others to speak for or against the issues involving Heritage Hills Addition number 4, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance approving a final plat and a subdivision agreement for the development of the Heritage Hills Addition Number 4 subdivision in the city of Casper, Wyoming.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Powell. Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to express my appreciation to Mr. Gaddis for his persistence, because I know it was frustrating when we turned down the previous proposal, and as Councilman Pacheco and others have noted, we have a serious need for affordable housing in Casper, and appreciate your sticking with it.
Any more questions or comments? Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Thank you. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the annexation and plat to create Heritage Hills Addition Number 5. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I have two exhibits for this item. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated February 24th, 2016. And exhibit number 2, that document being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 16th, 2016.
City Manager report.
Your Honor, Integrity Builders Group LLC, again, has applied to annex 41.76 acres of property located a half block, located at the end of South Beverly Street. The proposed plot of this property creates 153 lots, with 48 lots being zoned R3, which is 1 to 4 unit residential, and 105 lots being R2, 1 unit residential. The minimum lot size for both R2 and R3 is 4,000 square feet, with all the proposed lots exceeding this requirement. The proposed lots provide a grid pattern of streets and blocks. The street provides street connectivity throughout. All lots are accessed by interior local streets. Street stubs along the north, south, and east borders align for future connection to future development. And the proposal is consistent with the long-range transportation plan for the area. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request again on January 21st, 2016 with a due pass recommendation, and this came with 5 conditions.
And we also have a graphic for this one as well.
Oh, we do.
Donald?
Push the button.
Okay. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the issues involving Heritage Hills Addition Number 5 to please approach the lectern. Hello again, Mr. Gaddis.
Again, Mr. Mayor, council members, Chris Gaddis, 1011 Goodstein. So to continue on with what we're doing now that it's all put together here, yeah, a little over 150 lots, and our goal was to get some under 200,000. That's why we have the R3. We do have some twin home plans we'll introduce into that back section to get some homes that are, get some families and homes that can qualify under 200,000. And like I said, we've already got some momentum and some contracts signed with our new kickoff and our new plans that we're marketing and our website that we put out, and just want to keep moving forward, providing the economy lets us do so.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Gaddis regarding addition number 5?
Go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. I'm just curious, Mr. Gaddis, we keep hearing that construction costs are gradually going down as the economy has softened. Have you seen any evidence in that?
No. It's all hearsay. Concrete went up, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when we had a shortage of supply, and it went over $100 a yard. Hasn't come down since. Used to be around April or so, we'd see some costs go down just to spur some growth. Little bit, not much. We're hearing rumors though, so we're hoping. Yeah.
Councilman Hiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gaddis, well, I appreciate the street naming in the subdivisions, and I have a feeling you had a hand in that. I noted that on parallel streets in this subdivision, we're going from 27th to Grace to 28th to Faith to 29th. I'm wondering if you could lend some insight as to how we didn't end up from 27th to 32nd or something like that, and we have these odd names in between, which I fear will create confusion into the indefinite future.
I think some of it had to do with the specific streets the city wanted to go through, so I'll let.
My name is Louis James.
Hello.
JKC Engineering, 111 West 2nd Street. The numbered streeters for the connectivity through the city, you know, the 29th is probably going to be the one that connects in over to McKinley Street over there, and 27th is going to be the other, but the other streets are really not going to connect per se to anything. So that's the reasoning of why the number of streets will continue on east-west, but those other streets probably won't connect to any other streets going east-west.
It was just an observation. That's an odd configuration for street names. It's not the names themselves, but that you go from a numbered to a named to a numbered to a named and back to a numbered.
Well, the name started 12 years ago with hope we would make it through, and if not, God would have mercy on us. That's where it all started. So we've just continued the mantra.
Thank you, Mr. Gaddis.
Well, I imagine that developers run out of street names eventually, and you're going to start using engineering terms or something.
I've got 8 kids, and I have 8 models. And
Okay.
I don't think I'll build any more houses but 8, so.
Okay, one quick question. 5 conditions were attached. Would you like to summarize what those conditions are?
I don't have those with me. On the
I mean, I saw them in the packet. I just wanted a public.
Yeah, well, the first one was at the request of the city so that we didn't have anybody pulling out on Beverly Street, which I think is a good thing anyway.
Right.
It really didn't affect us a whole lot. We just had to change our plat and put everything off the side streets. So that was the first one. The detached sidewalks were part of the subdivision agreement, and the trees. Yeah, the traffic study we're working on, I had just talked to Josh. I think it's Jason, this week. So we've picked a company and we'll get those wheels in motion. And yeah, I think everything else we've met, we'll meet with this plat.
Okay. And you understand the requirements are trying to accommodate for future growth?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more questions or comments for Mr. Gaddis? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the gallery who is wanting to speak in favor of the issues surrounding Heritage Hills Edition number 5? Anyone else? All right. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the issues involving Heritage Hills number 5, please approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in opposition to the issues surrounding Heritage Hills Edition number 5. Okay. There being no others to speak for or against the issues involving Heritage Hills Edition Number 5, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance approving the annexation, plat, and zoning, creating Heritage Hills Edition Number 5 to the City of Casper, and also approving the Heritage Hills Edition Number 5 subdivision agreement.
The Chair would entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins and seconded by Vice Mayor Cathy. Any discussion?
If I might, I'd like to thank the folks at Planning and Zoning Group and our Community Development Group to make 29th a 60-foot right-of-way as opposed to 50. I think it'll make sense in the long run, and it does fit with our long-range transportation plan.
More discussion? Any amendments? Okay, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the fiscal year 2016 budget amendments. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do, Your Honor. I have two exhibits for this matter. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Cassia Smith to V.H. McDonald, dated February 9th, 2016. Exhibit number 2, that document being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 26th, 2016.
Thank you, City Attorney Lubin. City Manager report.
Your Honor, state law prohibits a municipality of overspending its budget, and therefore we can adjust the budget. Typically, the City of Casper adjusts the budget twice a year. We do it about mid-year to cover capital items that have come up during the year, through the year before this period. The budget adjustment, the details of the budget adjustment presented tonight is an increase in the transfer out of the general fund of $1,160,083, and that is to provide funding for the purchase of the building located at 135 North Ash. You'll see this same building later in just a minute in the Capital Projects Fund. And then in the Capital Project Fund, the recommendation is increase that by $1,479,990. Provides funding for the portion of the North Platte River Restoration Project funded by the Central Wyoming Regional Water System, and that amount is $250,000. And it provides funding for chip seal at the water treatment plant for $25,599, and that item was also funded by revenue from the Central Wyoming Regional Water Joint Powers Board. Increases funding for the construction of restrooms at the Stackenhoff Shooters Club by $16,475. That's provided by a contribution from the Shooters Club, the Stackenhoff Shooters Club, and $6,475 from a bid bond that was defaulted upon on the original bid. And provides funding, again, this is the actual purchase for the building located at 135 North Ash of $1,160,083, $1,160,083, and provides funding for the city's portion of a bus purchase for transit services of $27,833. That item is funded out of capital reserves. We bought additional buses. We bought additional buses to catch up on some replacement that didn't occur the last couple of years for the transit system. So the total of that capital projects fund was funded by anticipated revenues of $1,426,558 and fund reserves of $53,432. There's an increase recommended for the capital and equipment fund of an increase of $20,000 for breath monitoring testing devices for alcohol court. That's funded by a grant from the state of Wyoming. The opportunities fund increased $1 million for the purchase of the property at the 300 block of South David and South Ash. and that was funded by reserves. Increase the optional 1 cent number 14 sales tax fund by $100,000. This is half of funding that was allocated to the Platte River Parkway Trust, and it was not budgeted or encumbered, so this is a correction of an item that was inadvertently left out of the budget for this year. And that's funded by 1% number 14 sales tax reserves. Sewer fund increased $200,000 for work done at the Begonia lift station. There was work to renovate that facility, and that item is funded out of sewer fund reserves. The transit service funds, again, increased $27,833 for the purchase of the bus. And finally, the community development block grant, and increased that $432,195, and that is for heating replacement of Life Steps campus. And those funds are issues that we have a time limit on spending, and that's got to be spent by June 30, 2016, which is being spent right now for that replacement that's underway that council just awarded. And that is the details of the budget amendment for council's consideration.
Okay. In the packet, it says this will be funded with unanticipated revenue. What exactly does that mean?
Unanticipated revenue is new revenue we didn't know existed at the creation of the budget in June, and it's come along since the fiscal year started.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the fiscal year 2016 budget adjustments to please approach the lectern. Those to speak in favor of the budget adjustments. Okay. At this time, I would like to ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the fiscal year 2016 budget adjustments to please approach the lectern. To speak in opposition. There being no one to speak for or against the fiscal year 2016 budget adjustments, I now declare public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to, by resolution, authorize the fiscal year 2016 budget adjustments.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Powell, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Discussion. Okay, I'll ask just for people to know. This is just a necessity to adjust the difference between projected and known budget. Is that correct?
Your Honor, pretty much correct. It's items that came up subsequent to the adoption of the budget, and to get those items budgeted and the legal budget syncing up with the expenditure.
So when we passed the budget in May, generally, right? June. Okay, we worked on it in May, we passed it in June, and we don't have crystal ball, so unexpected things arise.
Exactly.
And because state statute requires us to keep our financial ducks in a row, we occasionally have to make budget adjustments.
Correct again.
Got it. Okay. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the sale of a 2006 Ford paratransit bus to the Natrona County Sheriff's Office. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do. I have two exhibits for this matter. Exhibit number 1 corresponds from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated February 1st, 2016, and Exhibit Number 2, that document being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 29th, 2016.
Thank you. City Manager report.
Your Honor, as assets of the city, particularly vehicles, reach their intended lives and their service lives, they're disposed of. This is a case of a bus that is being recommended to be sold to the Natrona County Sheriff's Office for a nominal amount of $25. The Sheriff's Office will use this to convert into a mobile negotiation unit. This item has 206,481 miles on it, which is more than 50,000 miles more than its intended useful life. And because it is past its useful life, there is no federal interest in this property anymore, with the property having been bought by federal dollars. And staff recommends it be sold and put into use for the purpose with the Natrona County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the sale of the short bus. Notice how I snuck that in there? To please approach the lectern. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of selling the paratransit bus to the NCSD? Okay. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the sale of the paratransit bus to the Natrona County Sheriff's Department, please approach the lectern. There being no one to speak for or against the sale of the bus, I now declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to, by resolution, authorize the sale of the bus.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Councilman Schlager. Discussion.
Say something, thank you, Your
Certainly.
Honor. I think this is just another small indication of how fortunate we are that our communities have good working relationships and cooperate with each other to solve problems. We take it for granted here in Casper, but it's not the case statewide, where municipalities and counties are sometimes in a very conflictual relationship and are not able to work together. And so I feel good about us doing something for our friends in the county.
Thank you. Any more questions, comments? Okay, I have a question. Can we sell this to them for $25 because it's from one governmental agency to another?
Our opinion is yes, that's correct, because overall funding comes from the state of Wyoming, and we are a subset of, actually, of the county. And so how you shift money around in the bottom line makes no difference between governmental entities.
Of the same county?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone on council concerned about selling them a bus that could be needed for negotiation and it's 50,000 miles past its life?
Mr. Mayor, I might add, it wouldn't necessarily have to be Natrona County, any governmental entity within the state, because all the funding comes from the state.
Right.
Just a clarification.
Under the umbrella.
The umbrella of the state. Thank you.
State. Okay, got it.
We're his asses, right?
Okay, and that was going to be my question is, we're selling this as an as-is basis, no warranty, no guarantee. All right.
If I may,
Yeah.
in opposition to the way you phrased the question, I support this because I believe that trying to get rid of a vehicle and the disposal costs of an old vehicle will far exceed the $25 that we're going to receive from it. I think this is in our interest to help the county with a vehicle that we no longer use.
Duly noted.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Just to highlight, we maintain the vehicles in good shape, and I am sure this one's in good shape and relatively low mileage by the sheriff's office when they use it, and I think it'll work for them.
So we maintain them on a maintenance schedule and
Yes.
address any problems that may arise. Okay. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With the abstention by Councilman Johnson noted, all others voting aye, motion passes.
Thank you. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the renewal of retail liquor license number 21, Modern Electric Company. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do. I have 4 exhibits, Your Honor, for this particular matter. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Tracy L. Belser to V.H. McDonald, dated February 19th, 2016. Exhibit number 2, that being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated February 24th, 2016. Exhibit number 3, that document is the affidavit of website publication as published on the City of Casper website, that document dated February 19th, 2016. And exhibit number 4, that actually being the liquor license application itself, which was filed on February 3rd, 2016.
Thank you. City Manager report.
Your Honor, this is renewal of retail liquor license number 21 that was formerly located at the Sandbar. Because of the purchase timing, the transfer of ownership between the company holding it for the Sandbar and Modern Electric Company, it wasn't renewed with the rest of the liquor licenses when we do that big batch. And we could get it in at a later date, so that's why it's before you tonight. This renews it for the same licensing period starting April 1st, 2016. And it is renewed with the conditions and restrictions that have been on this license for quite a while. And it is one of the licenses that is parked, and the location is Modern Electric at 246 West 1st Street. And all the necessary publications have been made, and we recommend it be renewed for the next license year.
Thank you, City Manager McDonald. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the renewal of retail liquor license number 21 to please approach the lectern. Those to speak in favor of retail liquor license number 21. Present yourself, be heard, or be forever silent. Okay. At this time, I would like to ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the renewal of retail liquor license number 21 to please approach the lectern. To those who want to speak in opposition. Very good. There being no one to speak for or against the renewal of retail liquor license number 21, I now declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, authorize the renewal of retail liquor license number 21.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Cathy, seconded by Councilman Powell. Discussion. Certainly.
I think it's good to, we've had a discussion about this before, but correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, but we've been criticized for leaving these restrictions in place, and it is not really the purview of council to take initiative and remove restrictions that were put in place. There's a petitioning process for the license holder to come before council and say, based on these following factors, I would like these conditions removed. And that has not occurred, so they sort of stay in place by default. Is that a fair statement, Mr. City Attorney?
That is, Councilman Powell. These particular restrictions were put on this license after some pretty involved adversary proceedings, which resulted in a settlement with council. And this particular license had a history actually that went back over 30 years of problems. Now it's in the hands of a new owner. We don't expect any issues with it. However, I would suggest that the 4 restrictions that are on the license will not impair this license holder's use of the license. he can then, or they can at some point, petition to remove those restrictions. But as the license is parked, it's not being used. And so it potentially could be sold back to an individual that we work so hard to remove and separate from that license and put those restrictions on. It's not like it has a location with an owner at this point. It's not anywhere, it's parked, and so it could be sold to anyone. And so I think our staff's suggestion is that those restrictions remain in place.
That's prudent. It makes sense because it could be sold. This is a full retail liquor license, and this is for you, City Attorney Lubin. Just to remind the public, this is a full retail, so it's not tied to location?
Well, it will be at some point once its location is built, yes.
Okay.
And then there's a preference then for renewal of that location every year unless council can show that there have been significant issues with the license in order not to renew it. So once it attaches to a specific location, there is a preference for renewal. Right now it's parked, and that's under a separate statutory provision.
Okay. Thank you. Any more discussion? And this brings the total of park licenses to 2?
Your Honor, there's 4 licenses. There's 3 licenses parked at that won't ever be liquor locations. One is allocated to the warehouse project, which is being under construction right now, and that will be a liquor-related business location.
Okay, so out of the 92 licenses that council deals with, 3 are parked and waiting for a location.
I think there are 4 out of 36 full licenses, full retail.
37.
37.
Okay, so 37 full retail. And all the ones that are parked are full retail. Yeah. Right.
Parking only applies to full retail licenses.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And I believe we're talking about 4 parked. Basically, one is got the engine running on it, I believe, and that's the one that's going in the old fruit warehouse with Art 321, and so that is under construction.
Right.
Basically awaiting for the finishing of the construction. So I wouldn't necessarily say that is a totally parked the way the other 3 are.
Right, it's just waiting for that project to be ready for it.
Exactly.
Got
A
it.
license can be issued in a not yet ready for business location. And they've got 2 years to bring that location on. And as I mentioned earlier, this is definitely a location that is suitable for that, and they're going under construction.
Got it. Okay, any other questions, comments? Do we have any amendments? Okay, please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Thank you. At the request of the applicant, the chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, cancel the public hearing concerning the transfer of ownership of retail liquor license number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Cathy, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Please record your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Consideration of the next item will be by ordinance. Please read the ordinance on first reading by title only.
An ordinance amending certain sections of Chapter 15.12, the Casper Municipal Code, Board of Examiners and Appeals, and Contractor Licensing.
The Chair would entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Schlager. City Manager report.
Your Honor, the City of Casper Board of Examiners and Appeals and Contractor Licensing is recommending a change in the experience requirements for Class 1 and Class 2 general contractor licenses. That recommendation is Class 2 would be changed to require 6 years of experience, minimum experience, and Class 1 would require 8 years of minimum experience. Currently, all the categories require 4, and this eliminates some confusion between the classifications. The proposed changes would further define each category of general contractor for the minimum experience criteria. The board recommends these changes to allow general contractors to qualify for the Class 2 license to include constructing smaller commercial projects of 12,000 square feet or smaller. And with the general Class 2 contractor being currently limited to remodel of commercial buildings only. So the council has a recommended ordinance to consider, and with recommending it be approved.
Thank you. Discussion. Yes, and I heard you summarize this beautifully at a leadership meeting. Would you like to do that again for everyone?
That's what I was planning on doing.
Thank you.
Or I could turn it over to my chauffeur, which, that's an inside joke there.
Okay.
But anyhow, what it basically does with the licensing requirements is it gets the general contractor licensing more in line with the licensing of the trades. As the trades have basically apprentice, journeyman, master, that starts to set up that same type of procedure in the general contractor's licensing, going from a Class 3, then up to a Class 2, then on up to a Class 1. So that was the reason for those changes. Also, there have been several requests throughout for larger metal buildings up to the 12,000 square feet. In the past, that has then required a Class 1 license to do those. Normally those as being shop buildings, barns, things like that, really don't fall truly into the commercial category. So that's the reason for now including up to the 12,000 square feet in the Class 2 category. So those were some things to try to get the licensing more in line with the rest of the trades, and also to open up to the smaller contractors and get the buyer, the purchaser of the smaller buildings out of having to go to that Class 1 level to be able to get some of their ranch property buildings constructed.
Okay, then the question in my mind is, turn that microphone back on because I want this answer. Are we making it easier or more difficult applying onerous regulation?
I think what we're doing is we're actually making it to where you are showing that you are moving up. A Class 2 normally is housing construction, things along those lines. Class 1, you could build this building. There needs to be a difference in level of experience, expertise, running a business, planning an organization that goes along with that. And most people need that level of training and things, so that's the reason for this improvement.
All right. Any more questions or comments? Do we have any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Along with that, I would like to thank our Community Development Department for working with the building contractors to come up with these changes.
Thank you. Council will now discuss the resolution for the fees of the Casper Recreation Center. Because this is not on the consent agenda, it will be open for discussion by council. Please read the resolution by title only.
Resolution rescinding resolution number 1474 and establishing fees for use of the Casper Recreation Center.
Chair would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins and seconded by Councilman Powell. City Manager report.
Your Honor, annually, the rec center takes a look at their fees they charge users of the facility, and they've done so this year and are establishing some new fees. Namely, the annual recreation pass for adults goes from $80 a year to $90 a year, an increase of $10. For youth, from $60 to $65 a year. Adult half-year passes go from $55 to $60, and youth half-year passes go from $40 to $45. Daily admission, the single-day pass is raised from $3.50 to $4, and the punch pass with a minimum of 10 punches is raised from $3 to $3.50. And there are various changes in the daily and hourly room rent for various rooms at the facility. There is a change in the personnel reimbursement fee for costs of staff from $15 an hour to $18 an hour, an increase in the after-hour reception rental from $175 for 3 hours to $200 for 3 hours, and lastly, in-house program reimbursements for youth and community recreation foundation events. The gymnasium goes from $20 an hour to $22 an hour, and from adult events, and adult events change from $30 an hour to $32 an hour. And Carolyn Griffith, the Recreation Division Manager, is here for any detailed questions about the process and the drivers for those costs.
Thank you. Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's my intention to support this resolution. I did want to comment. I think that this increase was not in the budget forecasts, but it was a result, as city manager noted, of a regular review of fees. The city of Casper provides an excellent economic alternative to private health clubs here with the rec center. I had an opportunity to tour the facility, and I found it to be in very nice appearance. The renovations that were done were excellent, and I very much appreciated the tour that I received. So I support this not so much on a revenue basis, but also on a market fairness. I think that this facility, just simply outprices any of the alternatives in the community, and it's proper that we do increase the fees from time to time, and in consideration of the excellent facility that the city runs. So I'd also just ask that in the future the budget forecasts include these increases rather than them coming up at miscellaneous times during the calendar year.
First, Councilman Powell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am the council rep on the Leisure Board, and the Leisure Board is a group of citizens that oversee our amenities and arrange contracts with user groups and monitors the condition of the facilities that we own and in most cases operate. And these fee increases came before the Leisure Board, and the Leisure Board had a number of questions for the rec center staff and Ms. Griffith, but concluded unanimously that this was an appropriate change in the fee structure. And I think we've struggled ever since I've been on council, and I'm sure many years before, to what extent do we subsidize our recreational opportunities? And Councilman Schlager and others have pointed out the importance of us promoting and making it easy for people to recreate and enjoy our facilities. I think this does not in any way create a barrier to usage, and the Leisure Board, again, agreed unanimously with that position. And I would also like to point out, as Ms. Griffith had pointed out in our work session, that anyone that does have a hardship paying these fees can apply for a scholarship, and the Rec Center Foundation, or the Recreation Foundation, has a process where people can apply for assistance. So there really is no barrier whatsoever to access to these facilities, which is appropriate. So I will also be supporting this.
Councilman Hopkins.
I too will support this. When you look at a proposed fee for adults of $90 a year, that's competitive with the monthly fees with most of the organizations in town. But we do serve a little bit different clientele than they do. And I think we have to recognize that as a city to take care of our people that may not be able to afford those kind of things. But the fact that we have some, I think 11 or 1,200 people go through your doors every day, more than that, it reflects the fact that it's a well-used facility, and I congratulate you guys on your remodel. Looks really nice.
Councilman Miller.
I'll go back and just echo what Councilman Hopkins said. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, by the way. That really, I'm kind of wondering why I go to the gym I do, and I am paying the $90 per year for 1 month. Or $90 for 1 month, whereas the rec center here is for an entire year. I think that's one heck of a deal. And you guys have done a great job with the remodel in there. It looks great. It truly is an asset. And I'm looking at this $4 for a single day pass. That again is another big step up, because you go to one of the other guys, you're looking at $10, $12 for a pass to go use a facility for a single day. So really good. And I think another thing here is these things continually cost more, and you have to adjust the factor there. I think we're still in a pretty good range. Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Carolyn Griffith? She's here. See if we can put her on the hot seat. You don't have to get to the lectern. Well, actually do, please. Thank you. There was some discussion about the increase for one room in particular, and you defended that increase by saying it's an entirely new space. Would you like to tell us about that?
Correct. Probably the largest rental increase was the Funshine Corner, which previously was called the Indoor Park, and it was an experience that we provided in an existing racquetball court, basically for children, young children, probably 6, 7 years old and under. So in putting 25 children in a racquetball court with some equipment and poor ventilation, poor sound isn't the best experience, in all honesty. We were able to address that, fortunately, with this renovation that we just previously underwent, and improved that experience at least by 10 times. So it's highly, it's already being highly requested for rentals, to the point that for the first time we've had to designate public times that we will not rent it for private parties. And so as a result, and the fact that it's more requested for private use, and that takes it out of the possibility of public use, there's obviously some value to that. And as was mentioned earlier, we've got increased expenses, and it's only prudent and responsible to address it as such.
Okay. Do you remember the last time we increased fees at the rec center?
The last time the pass fees were increased was 2012. And so this is this basically is a $5 increase for youth, which are 13 to 18 years old, and $10 for adults. There is no increase. It's been proposed for 12 years old and under, and kids that are 4 and under are still free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does council have any questions for?
One more explanation. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Your Honor. In response to Councilman Hiley's concern about the timing, really, we couldn't put it in the budget until it went to the Leisure Board and then had the approval of the Leisure Board, which happens at a certain time each year because there's a sequence of amenities that are reviewed and user groups that are reviewed. And the rec center just happens to be in the, January meeting, is that right, Carolyn? So you really couldn't have put these in the budget that was approved last May because you didn't know whether the Leisure Board would approve it in January. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Councilman Powell, thank you. That's a good clarification, and that's fair. Annually, and this has been, and not that it can't change if you don't want it to, but we address the recreation center fees and any associated fees with that part of the facility in January. In February, we address the aquatic center fees, and in March, we address the ice arena fees. And so staff does anticipate some of those proposals when we prepare the budget, anticipating that typically they're reviewed and accepted, but the increases are relatively low, and we do try to address them annually so that we don't let them go for 5, 6, 7 years and all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, the house is on fire, let's raise the fees by $50, and it's certainly a bigger impact on the public at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question for City Manager McDonald. These are not on a schedule like utilities where we try and increase by 2% each year just so that there isn't a huge jump because it's recreation?
I don't believe these have the same kind of pricing models that the utilities have to look out several years.
Okay, so 4 years is not an oversight on our part?
I don't believe so.
Good. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passed.
Council now consider consent resolutions. Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
Item 8A1, a resolution authorizing changes to the funding agreement between the City of Casper and the Family Journey Center for optional 1% number 15 sales tax community project funds for the Little Hands program. Item 8A2, a resolution authorizing the release of local assessment district liens filed against properties for which the assessed balance has been paid in full. Item 8A3, a resolution authorizing mortgage release 1514 Eastbrook Avenue. Item 8A4, a resolution authorizing mortgage release at 138 South Minnesota Avenue. Item 8A5, a resolution authorizing change order number 3 with Gem City Roofing, Inc. for the Life Steps Roofing Replacement Project. Item 8A6, a resolution authorizing agreement with 609 Consulting, LLC for construction administration and material testing services for the 2016 miscellaneous waterline replacement project. Item 8A7, a resolution authorizing agreement with Dave Loden Construction, Inc. for the 2016 miscellaneous roof replacements project. Item 8A8, a resolution authorizing agreement with GW Mechanical, Inc. for the CEC chiller replacement project. Item 8A9, a resolution authorizing rescission of an agreement with ABM Software for the license of information management and risk mitigation software.
Council will now consider consent resolutions. Please, Chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent resolutions just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Hiley, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any abstentions or nay votes? Did anybody else notice that she was saying 8A?
Oh, B, because the consent change. My apologies.
Okay. So that doesn't require correction?
The record, pardon me, Mr. Mayor, we'll have the record reflect that each item that was referred to as A should have been referred to as items A.
Okay.
As items B, excuse me. I can't get it right either.
Okay.
Yes, they were, I think the printout came out wrong, but each item read by number 8-1, 8-2, 8-3 on through 8-9 should have been referenced as B items, not A items. So the
Okay.
record will so reflect.
Thank you. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now consider minute action items. These are routine business items that do not require a resolution. Please read the consent minute action titles.
Item 9A1, authorizing the appointment of Beth Nelson to the Leisure Services Advisory Board to a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2018. Item 9A2, issuance of a taxi cab company license to Odessa Spear doing business as Turbo Taxi located at 3524 Gila Bend Road.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Cathy. Vice Mayor Cathy. Who seconded it?
Miller and I had a tie.
Okay, we're going to give it to Miller. Seconded by Councilman Miller. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, should we get a red button for a second?
Yeah.
What's that show?
Okay. Well, now is the time we invite anyone from the audience who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. We ask that you please state your name and address. Anyone who cares to address council? Thank you, Mr. Steensland.
Dennis Stevenson, 533 South Washington. Just a clarification, I maybe didn't hear it in the back. On the recreation center, did I miss something? Did they, the help get a raise from $16 an hour to $18? Is that wrong?
No, that actually helps cover maintenance, if maintenance has to be there, and associated expenses with benefits and so forth. So there, it's not $18 an hour that they're paid, but once you calculate benefits and so forth, we're covering expenses of having to bring an extra person in when we don't budget for that typically.
I see. And I guess the other one, I listened back there, Modern Electric's situation. Did anybody aware that they are working on the building now? They've got a vehicle over there cleaning out the building. So they haven't applied for a variance on the liquor license?
At this point, it's just parked.
Okay. Okay. Just curiosities, you can't hear. Sometimes I don't think you guys turn on your mics.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll try to address that.
Last time I said that, he says, your hearing's going bad. Well,
Who were you having trouble hearing, Mr. Steensland?
I couldn't hear you, Charlie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just get my microphone closer next time. Sorry.
Okay,
You know, for all of us that don't sit up front, it's actually hard for me to hear right there. And that could be my fault, but
I think
I do think you paid to have a new system put in here, didn't you, for sound?
we did.
So it hasn't gotten that much better.
Okay, is it better now? I'll just keep my mic closer. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the gallery care to address council? Any issues, comments, questions? Okay. Public discussion closed. This time we ask council members to bring forward relevant concerns or matters of interest. We'll begin with Councilman Schlager.
You know, Your Honor, thank you. I knew he was going to get me on the microphone. I had a question a couple weeks ago that Mr. City Attorney helped me with, and of course I couldn't remember the answer, but we apparently have a new hookah bar in town, and there's some question as to whether or not that was something that was legal with our smoking ban, and it sounds like it is acceptable. However, they do have to be of appropriate age, so that answers that question. Otherwise, I think that's all I've got.
And essentially the issue was a hookah bar is okay because we sell tobacco there, and the person needs to be 21 to go in, but it is acceptable to smoke in an indoor tobacco vendor.
That is correct, Your Honor. There was an exception put in the original ordinance for retail tobacco shops.
So the heavy-handed, upside your head smoking ordinance has an exception. One exception. Okay.
It has a couple of exceptions, actually.
Well,
but there are, it was determined that there were shops that actually just sell tobacco to adults. Minors are not allowed, and council put that exception in the ordinance.
okay, so is that age of majority 18 or 21?
I'd have to go back and look. I believe it's age of majority. The age you're able to purchase tobacco products.
So I think it's 18.
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
I don't smoke, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
But you have to be age of majority in order to work in the shop. Minors are not allowed.
Okay. Oh, and before we move on from this discussion, I would just like to note that smoking a hookah is different. You use like a burning charcoal ember on top of the very wet tobacco. It's called shisha, I think. And it is a different smoke. It is very cool. And depending on your shisha, if it's not candy flavored, it's actually kind of a pleasant experience. Not to advocate anybody taking up tobacco because it's bad for your health. Okay, Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will say, if you don't want to breathe for a week, go smoke the hookah. Don't know why I know that. No committee reports. Been kind of light on the meetings recently, and really the only other thing going on is I probably speak for all of us on council right now is we're anxiously waiting to see what the legislature is doing in Cheyenne with funding for municipalities. And just in the past couple of days, there's been quite a few things rolling around, and I don't think we have any resolve at this point, other than for us to start getting out there and reach our legislators to make sure that we at least try to preserve some of the figures that are coming to the city of Casper from the state's funding. So we'll be continually watching that. And I imagine some of the reason for the lack of our crowds tonight would be everyone's out watching the Super Tuesday activities. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that when I get home and turn on the TV. But anyways, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Hopkins.
Well, I was absent from the meeting for the Architectural Review Committee last week. We did, the group did approve a sign, and if you could put that on the screen. This is our new pizza place beside Art 321. So that's a cool sign, and I think this is looking at the southern wall, if I understand correctly. So Ash Street would be to the right, and Raka's will be the place, and it's coming along. I've noticed that they're put their sewer line in last week, so it's going to be cool.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the graphic. Councilman Powell.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Councilman Pacheco.
Not much to report. I had a community action partnership meeting last week that went well, And other than that, it's been kind of slow, but good.
Thank you. Councilman Hiley.
I had no committee meetings last week, but I did have a special meeting with CEO of Downtown Development Association. We went over the plans for the David Street Station as they exist today. It was a good meeting, and it's an exciting development for downtown.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
I just wanted to point out that as of 5 o'clock this afternoon, there have been 12 police officers killed by gunfire in this country, which is a 1,200% increase from this time last year. And in light of the lack of intestinal fortitude by elected officials standing up for the law enforcement officers that we charge to uphold the laws that we create and pass, I'm going to be organizing a pro-police rally at some point in the near future. And as soon as I get the details on that, I'll let everybody know. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Kathy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Slow week, the last week in February. Have meetings coming up, but nothing, trying to, as was mentioned earlier, trying to keep up with the legislature and what's happening for the funding with cities, towns, and counties. That has been going, that has been an ongoing saga. So 90 million to 105 million to this formula, to that formula, to another formula, and there's still more. It's back to the House for a vote tomorrow. So trying to keep on top of that and trying to see if we can retain some of our funding.
Well, I was frankly hoping for a little soapbox up here about the legislature and their allocation to city, towns, and counties. I was wanting some outrage and maybe even some inflammatory statements to just adequately express just how important this is. And I'll step on that soapbox. State's still spending $300 million on renovations. I was at the Capitol like last year, and it's beautiful. I'm not really sure how important it is to spruce up the architecture when we have cities, towns, and counties that are reliant, dependent on revenues. And Casper has taken, well, it looks like Casper's going to take a significant hit to the tune of about $800,000 over 2 years. And other cities, like Gillette, they're going to be hit like $1 million. And so the distribution process, I understand it's complicated. I understand that when something is on the floor of a legislative body, it gets chaotic, and that, you know, you need some intestinal fortitude, and you need some determination and some ability to compromise, but also some recognition that priorities are going to become the buzzword as state revenues and revenues to cities, towns, and counties decrease with tax money. And we are going to just have to think a little more carefully about what those priorities are. And I'm not sure that fixing up architecture is as important as making sure that cities, towns, and counties can continue to do the business. Because as City Manager McDonald has pointed out in just casual discussion, companies can pull up stakes, they can leave, but governmental entities our job is to provide services to the people that are here, no matter what. And it requires money and good money management to do that. And so it's just a little disappointing that things seem to slip in the free-for-all called the legislative process. The only other thing that I have to report is VH, Liz Becker, and I met with the developer, the Parkway Plaza. We discussed certain things that are in the works, and I spoke for the city in just encouraging that private development for convention center. No deals were struck, no plans were derailed, but I think that a private developer putting in the convention center that we've been discussing for the last decade or so is preferable to public-private partnership, in the sense that the lease agreement with the Commons property is a legal nightmare. I personally think it should just be unplugged immediately, because it is treading that very theoretical ground of the public-private partnership. And Wyoming statute does not really allow for that very easily. It's a good idea, but it's more theory than practice, and I've said that before. So there is a distinct possibility that we are going to have private investment develop a convention center, and we should encourage that and be very grateful and look into what the city could do to help that private investment. Cleaning up City Street, glossing up the corridor, coming up with different avenues into downtown, because let's be honest, Center Street is the gateway to downtown. From I-25, you pull off the interstate, bingo, you got to go right through Center Street underpass, and there's your downtown. We can help that private developer with development along Parkway. We can help them with glitzing up that underpass. We can do what we can legally without stressing out City Attorney Lubin trying to make the project match the statute. So that's kind of the direction we're going, and it's also going to be helpful for just being fiscally realistic. That's our new goal, fiscal realism. Okay. Next meeting of the City Council will be a work session to be held at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 8th, 2016 in the Council's meeting room, and a regular Council meeting to be held at 6 p.m. Tuesday, March 15th in the Council chambers. The Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss litigation, and will certainly.
Excuse me, Your Honor, if I could, I just want to back up to the legislative effort, and I do want to thank the local representatives and senators that supported Casper's efforts, widespread from the local contingent to bring the dollars back to their constituents and support the effort.
Right, and thank you for pointing that out, because the Casper and the Natrona County delegates, they all did their job, and they advocated for us vociferously. But it is a chaotic process. So thank you for that, pointing that out. We're going to adjourn into an executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation and will only reconvene in order to adjourn this regular session.
I move to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of litigation.
Moved by Councilman Johnson. Second. Seconded by Vice Mayor Kathy. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
Voting aye, motion passes.
This meeting is adjourned.